What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for a match review for you guys. We beat Nottingham Forest 3-1 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium yesterday. We got Sim back in the studio. How you doing? How do you think the game went yesterday? You know, convincing first half performance, that's for sure.
That's all I needed to get better was 3 points. Now I'm back ready to go.
Tottenhamitis healed.
Exactly. Look, I was happy with the performance. I was happy with a lot of the football we played, and I thought that we deserved the win. I thought we sealed the game pretty much in the first half, and I thought we deserved it. I thought all the players stepped up, like players like Richarlison, Porro, Skip. They all really stepped up in crucial moments. I thought we dominated physically anyway, but I don't think it was that dissimilar to a lot of performances we've had this season when, even in games that we haven't won and people have criticised the team. I just think people need sometimes need perspective on that front, but I think we played well and I think we deserved the victory. I think Forest were 100% winning participants.
Oh yeah, you can say
100%. They were really woeful in that first half, and even looking at some of the goals, especially that if you look at the third goal, I think the defending for that is pretty horrendous from Nottingham Forest, and it was very easy for us to. I mean, it was good, well taken goal by Son, but I mean the defending from Aurier. I mean, it was two players on one, and they couldn't stop him. I think it was really bad defending. But apart from, and also I do think they have the worst away record in the league, don't they, Forest? So. Yeah. From that point of view, you expect a victory, but you can only be what's in front of you, and I thought we took our chances well.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And on the first half, when you talk about Nottingham Forest being willing participants, that they definitely were. I mean, how much space did Højbjerg and Skip have in that middle of the park yesterday? I mean, they were in acres of space anytime they got the ball in that kind of centre circle area, and they just were given the license just to ping the ball left, right, down the middle, and they were getting such accurate passes on their pings as well. I thought both of them put in a really good display. But let's start off talking about the opening stages of the game. Obviously, 4 minutes in, it was that moment I was talking about. Ollie Skip in the centre of the park with acres of space, plays a lovely ball over the top to Richarlison. He takes it down and smashes it in the roof of the net. And I'm thinking about it, and I've looked at it so many times, and I still can't see why that is called for offside.
Yeah, let me try and get an image of it.
It's ridiculous. It really is. I mean, the guy is literally not offside. I mean, I've
seen it a number of times. It's hard to see how he's offside, but I want to see if I can get an image of it. Here it is. If you can get it on, you can bring it on. It's. I mean, I don't see where the gap is. Apparently, if the lines are touching, then you're supposed to give advantage to the attacker. I don't see a gap there. I mean, it's a really pixelated picture, but I mean, look how far behind. Like, his feet are so far behind Felipe as well. He's leaning forward, but
it's like the line is drawn from his shoulder as well.
Yeah, I thought so. It's supposed to be drawn from the armpit, not the shoulder. So it's also a bit further forward. So I think it's very dubious. I mean, I think I would like to see how they look at it again. I mean, the picture here is really pixelated, so you can't properly see it. But it looks like his arm is there, and they drew it from like the top of. It's like, sorry, his arm's like that, and it looks like instead of drawing it from there, they've drawn it from like there. I don't know. It's really.
I thought they were supposed to draw the line from the edge of the sleeve.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was supposed to be, and here they're drawing it from the elbow, from the shoulder. Just doesn't make sense to me. And even with drawing it from the shoulder, it looks onside anyway.
Yeah, it's really complicated, but I feel so bad for him because it was a really great. First of all, it was an unbelievable pass from Skip. Richarlison didn't have to break stride to shoot.
Yeah, pinpoint.
And then obviously fires it into the corner, into the near post. Excellent finish from Richarlison, and he thought that was him breaking his duck, and that was going to hopefully him go and score more goals and I'll give him more confidence. So I felt really bad for him that unfortunately got ruled out for a very dubious offside decision. Could have gone either way, and it went against him on that front. But I'm happy that he didn't let it affect him.
Yeah, he was brilliant throughout the rest of the game. But just before we move on and talk about the rest of the game, what was your opinion on Conte starting Richarlison in the game after what all the words of words that was happening before the game?
Yeah, I thought it was a smart decision in my opinion. I thought it's
Were you surprised?
Was I surprised? Not necessarily. I think Conte would have known what's going on in the media. He would have known that a lot has been talked about it, and I think the best way to nip it in the bud is to start him in the next game and him have a good performance, and that's exactly what happened. Yeah. And I think it's a good bit of management from Conte, just to silence it, quieten it down, because the more he doesn't play, the louder the noise gets. So if he I think the best way to put it behind you, he starts the next game, he has a good performance, and everyone can quiet down a bit. So I think it's the best way to play it, in my opinion. I think he did well.
And look, I think we didn't let that offside goal kind of throw us off or anything like that. We kept at it. We were strong in midfield. We were going forward in numbers. We were putting some really nice moves together, passing moves together. And then Rishi bursts into the box, beating his man. It's a poor cross, but Ben Davies kind of saves it with that slide, and it finds Pedro Porro. Porro with a lovely ball into Harry Kane, and Harry Kane just nods it home like he always does. And that was a really good goal, wasn't it?
It was really good, but how many times have we seen that situation where it's very similar, where Emerson's there and he just can't find that cross? And you look at that whole situation with the goal, and Kane has two men on him, and the cross has to be inch perfect for him to rise above those two players and head it home in the way he did. It was a brilliant header, but the cross has to be on point and it has to have quality. And that's exactly what Porro clearly provides. It was an excellent cross. Kane was able to meet it, and it's 1-0. But, it looks so simple. Yeah, we've been in that situation so many times this season and haven't been able to do that exact same thing.
And that's the kind of difference between the first half in this game and the first half in the Wolves game, right? In the Wolves game, we didn't have enough quality in that final third. We weren't creating too many clear-cut chances, and we weren't taking the chances when they came our way. Whether in this game, we had real quality with Porro, with the crosses, with Richarlison bursting into the box, with Harry Kane, the way he slots it. And we actually had, clear-cut chances. We were putting them away, and we were creating chance after chance after chance. That's what the difference, wasn't it, from the Wolves game?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, you'd have to say Forest are probably not as good defensively as Wolves are. But I think the big difference for me in the first half performances in the Forest game and the Wolves game, I think both times we played very well, to be honest. But the big difference for me is that in the Forest game, we made our superiority count. We scored when we were on top. Against Wolves, we failed to do so, and we allowed Wolves to regain the advantage, and we let that game slip away from us. And then everyone criticised us for playing bad football. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I thought we played quite well, but we didn't score when we were on top. Against Forest, we did score when we were on top, and then again we give the superiority to Forest, but we're already in the lead, so it makes a big difference. And that shows the importance of scoring when you are in the ascendancy, and that's exactly what we did against Forest. We've got the first goal, and then really nice move for the penalty, a really good play between Porro, Kane, and Richarlison, and to win that penalty, and he took it well. And once we were 2-0 in the lead, I think it was going to be very difficult for us to get back into it.
Like you say, it was a really nice move, that Porro ball over the top to Harry Kane. Harry Kane slips Richarlison in behind.
Imagine Emerson playing that ball to Kane that Porro did. No chance. For both goals. No chance Emerson plays either of them.
Absolutely. And obviously Kane slots the penalty like he always does. First penalty after the World Cup, by the way. Big up to Harry Kane for getting those demons off his back. But at half-time, I was super happy. It was so dominant. We should have been 3-0 up. It was only 2. At half-time, did you feel kind of the game was done? Or did you feel that, like, we've seen this all before? Maybe we haven't seen us give up leads like this before, but we've seen us play well in first halves and then drop off in the second half once the opponent makes a change.
I think 2-0 at home to Forest against the worst away side in the league. I think you got to think that it's pretty much job done. Obviously, you've got to be wary. They're a Premier League team. First of all, if you can bring up the phone quickly. Then just look at the state of play at half time. Forest had one shot the whole first half, very similar to Wolves, who didn't have a single shot last week in the first half.
Dominated possession as well.
Spurs had 8 shots, 3 on target, and an XG of 1.2, including the penalty. So 60% possession. Forest had 0.03 XG there off one shot. It was really domination in that first half. We were all over them, outpassing them as well. We were playing some good football. And, of course, at half-time, as well, if you look at the momentum bar, it's all Tottenham in that first half, the good old momentum bar. It was complete domination from Spurs, that whole first half. So I think I was very comfortable. been looking at Tottenham this season, how many times we've actually been in the lead at half time and gone on not to win. I think it was Man City away, and West Ham away are the only 2 games we've been leading at half time and not gone on to win the game. And I think we've been in the lead at half time on 14 different occasions. So I think 13 different occasions we've been leading at half time, and then we've gone on to win. So I'm fairly comfortable when Spurs are winning. And I think this is the perfect scenario for our kind of team, because we can then kind of manage the game, hit them on the counter, and kind of with the finishers that we have, like Son and Kane, there's a likelihood we'll score a third, and that's exactly what happened. I didn't even think in the second half we did that much to score a third. We didn't, but because we have an elite finisher like Son, there's always a good chance if he gets an opportunity, he'll take it.
Yeah, it's quite frustrating after that first half performance when you don't kind of carry on in the same suit in the second half. But again, like you say, I didn't have too much problem with it because I felt pretty comfortable in the first half. It kind of felt like the game was done. But Forest make those 2 changes at half time. They grow in the game. I thought Emmanuel Dennis was giving us a few problems down that left-hand side. Brennan Johnson forces Forster into an early save in that second half. But then straight away, really, 20 minutes into the second half, Romero releases Rishi down that right with a lovely ball, by the way, that first-time ball from Romero. And by the way, I thought Romero was brilliant yesterday. And he towed that line between aggression and not being over the top like he has done. He did everything point perfect, really. His balls into the attack were brilliant. He was always surging forward as well. I thought Romero had a really strong game and a really good reaction to that poor moment against AC Milan. But Romero releases Rishi down that right. He tried to find Son Rishi, didn't he? And then Worrell kind of snuffs it out. It finds its way back to Rishi, and he didn't make any mistake with the second pass. And it finds Sonny. He kind of checks around Serge Aurier, which will be a poor defending from Nottingham Forest, and he slots it home in that bottom right-hand corner. And with Sonny, I thought Sonny put a really good display in yesterday, and he kind of was tugging that left-hand touchline quite a lot yesterday, Heung-min Son, and it was kind of like a throwback to what we've seen from Sonny in previous years. And I was looking into the stats for Heung-min Son and Ivan Perisic when they're playing together. Now, Sonny scored 10 goals this year, yeah? 3 against Leicester when Perisic had already gone off the pitch. 1 against Palace where Perisic was on the pitch. 1 against West Ham, no Perisic. 1 against Forest with no Perisic. 2 against Preston, but Perisic was playing but as a striker. And 2 against Frankfurt with no Perisic. That's 10 goals, 7 without Perisic, 2 with Perisic as a striker, and only 1 with Perisic at left wing back. Is that telling for you?
I think there's something in it, to be honest, because I think Perisic, the way he is, he's like an orthodox left winger playing at left wing back, and he definitely does get in all those wide areas, but not just the wide areas on the left hand side. It's wide areas really high up the pitch, and we know that Son does like to drift into those areas to find the space. And the problem I think when Son is basically when he's not finding the joy in the central area, he likes to drift out wide to try and find a bit more space to hurt the opposition. Now, when Perisic is occupying that space, that's kind of like not an option. He can't drift into those areas. So he has to kind of persist in the centre. And when it's not working, all of a sudden, it gets to a situation where he's getting frustrated, he's losing the ball, he's hanging on to it a bit too long, and because he doesn't have an option of drifting into those wide areas, and he persists in the centre, then he starts to struggle a lot. But but in cases like yesterday, and maybe when Sessegnon's there, when you've got Davis there, Davis will get wide, but he won't get far up the pitch. So if Son wants to drift wide and wants to go in those wide areas to find space if he's struggling centrally, he can do that because he'll know Davis will be behind him. He's not going to be in really far up the pitch on the left-hand side. He's going to be kind of near the halfway line or a bit further ahead. He's not going to be like level with the penalty area on the left-hand side. So Sonny knows that if he's struggling centrally, he can go find that space out wide. And actually, in a way, that kind of helps him find space centrally because it means he has 2 options, and all of a sudden he becomes a bit more unpredictable. So I definitely do think Perisic being there, they just haven't been able to find that balance between sort of for Sonny being able to go out wide and go central. And I think yesterday it definitely did help him having those two avenues of attack. But then again, the goal did come a bit centrally.
It did come a bit centrally, but you saw that.
Not to say he can't do centrally.
Can you get Son's heat map up? Because if you get Son's heat map up, I'm pretty sure you see it. There you go. You see him in all those areas that Perisic is usually occupying, and that's kind of a throwback. We haven't seen Son occupy those areas in quite a while, to be honest. And I really like the look of it.
I mean, he's still fairly central, but he's a lot more wider. If I actually go, let's say I go to the last game against, let's say Wolves. Look at his heat map. See, it's a lot. So that is a lot more central.
That's what I'm
than
saying.
Yesterday.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And then if I go to yesterday's heat map, it's a lot more out wider, but still a bit central.
Yeah,
is my point.
He's always going to.
He's not hugging the touchline.
Yeah, but there were times. I mean, you could see where that red is. Where that's more towards the touchline than it is centrally. Where you look at the other one, it was more centrally than towards the touchline.
What I'm saying is, it's not one or the other. Here, it's like a balance.
Yeah, 100%.
The other one is like he has to stay central, and now it's more balanced.
Exactly.
He can go either way.
It gives him more variety.
Exactly, and I definitely think that helps.
Yeah, because when Perisic is on the play, Son becomes a bit too one-dimensional, and you know what he's going to do.
Because I think you want him central sometimes. That's where he can be devastating.
Yeah, of course.
But you don't want him to stay central. And that's what happens when Perisic is he stays central and he's got no avenue to go out wide. And I definitely think it helps having maybe Davis there, who he probably feels like he can trust Davis to be a bit more defensive, and he won't have to help Davis as much as he needs to help Perisic defensively as well. Yeah. Especially against a team like Forest. But definitely, if you look at Son, I thought he was great. 5 key passes. Obviously got his goal. I have to say though, looking at his goal, as much as it was a brilliant finish, not taking anything away from Son, but the fact that Richarlison put a lofted cross in, Son was able to take a touch on his thigh, then take a touch to the left and take a shot without any intervention from a Forest defender. It's pretty appalling.
Yeah, I don't think.
Imagine if that was our defence. We'd be absolutely raging.
I've been saying for the majority of the season that Serge Aurier would walk into this team, but he ain't walking in this team anymore with Pedro Porro and Emerson the way he's playing.
No, definitely not. And I think Aurier's defending for that situation was pretty appalling. Shelby as well. I think it went through Shelby's legs for goal. Yeah. I mean, there's 2 Forest defenders there. How Son has time to take it on his thigh and then take another touch and have a shot and score is pretty.
And
you're
doing
poor.
That when you're kind of having your best moment in the game as well.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty poor. But I have to say, Richarlison in that moment as well did really well. I thought the first cross was actually going to be on the money for Son before a good attempt by Worrell, and then he picked out Sonny again. And it was on the money as well because it was right on Sonny's thigh. Aurier couldn't get it, but I thought the defending was pretty poor. But great finish from Son. Gets goal number 6. Hopefully, if he can, have a good end to the season, get into double figures, and maybe this season won't look as bad as we all. As it is at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ben Davis at left wing back. I mean, we're starting to see some really good performances from him there. I don't think it was anything amazing from Ben Davis yesterday, but I really enjoyed watching him there. And it seems as though he does unlock something in the team because he's played in 3 games now at left wing back in the past 8. In those 3 games, we've had 3 wins, 7 goals. And the games that Perisic hasn't played, the 5 games that Perisic has played in those 5 games, we've scored 1 goal with 0 wins.
He's basically like the anti-Perisic at left wing back, basically. What Perisic will do is he'll get really far forward. If you look at basically his heat map, look, he doesn't get that far forward. He stays very wide, stays very much in the middle, just very safe, very steady. Although he did have you can see a couple moments where he was quite central there, but he does stay quite wide. But
he had that effort on goal, didn't he?
That's right. But what Perisic will do, he'll get really far wide, really far forward, whipping crosses, try and get into the back post, try and score. But what he'll also do is he'll give the ball away in silly areas. He'll try these first-time passes and be really sloppy and lack of care. And he'll be a defensive liability. Davis is like the complete opposite. What he'll do is he'll get the ball, he'll keep it very simple.
Steady Eddie.
He won't whip in too many crosses. And when he does whip in crosses, they're not going to be that dangerous. He's not going to get too far forward all the time. But what he'll do do is he'll be defensively solid. He'll make sure that when a Forest are attacking, he's back in his position. When he does get the ball, he'll keep it simple inside, or he'll pass it forward he'll give it to a forward player in a simple position. He won't overcomplicate anything. He'll just keep it very simple. It's not gonna these kind of performances from Davis, the left wing back. It's kind of the antidote to what we're getting to Perisic now, so it looks quite good, and I think it's probably a good thing to persist with for the time being. It's not something that in the long term is gonna, push us forward, but what it does do is stabilize the team right now, and it gives us a good solid base to kind of allow us to maybe get the best out of Sonny, allow us to kind of have good solid possession on that side, and it stops us from always from what Perisic is doing at the moment, which is just having that lack of care on the ball and giving the ball away in silly positions and being a defensive liability. That's what Davis isn't at the moment. That's what he's providing. I don't think he's being special. He's just being solid.
Yeah, standard Ben Davis, 6 or 7 out of 10. That's what we're seeing at the moment, but it's really helping the team. It really is. But with playing Davis at left wing back, what that means is we have to play Longley at left centre back. And I thought Longley was probably our poorest defender on the day yesterday. There were a couple of really silly moments in there from Longley with sloppy passes out the back that really could have played us into trouble at points yesterday. But I thought all in all it was an okay performance from Longley, but there was just those few sloppy moments, weren't there?
I don't remember too many of them. I think he got beaten for when Brendan Johnson had a shot on goal, I think, and Forster made a save. There were a couple of moments where you did worry about him getting beaten by Brendan Johnson, but I thought he did okay in the end. I don't think there was too much to overly criticise about Longley yesterday. I have been quite critical of him recently. I didn't think yesterday there was too much of note in terms of how bad he was. I thought he was decent. No, I don't think he was great, but I don't think he was too bad either. I wasn't that worried about him.
But it was the last 10 minutes where the real trouble came for Tottenham. Obviously, that corner comes in, Forster comes for it, misses it.
And also, that was a save. He had to make a save from Aurier, didn't he? One-handed
save, actually. Yeah. That was a brilliant save from Serge Aurier, who was at the back post. Forster has stepped in really well. Really well. There's even claims for him. Someone sent in a super chat yesterday. Has Forster been our most successful summer signing? And it's hard to argue against it, really.
That says more about our summer signings than it does about Forster.
I agree.
Maybe. Maybe. I mean, I guess it's between him and Richarlison, I guess, and people are saying Richarlison's a flop.
You can't look past Perisic as well, because he has had, 8 assists, 9 assists, or whatever it's been.
I guess Perisic for definitely for the first half of the season was really good. Forster, since that Leicester game, has been solid, I have to say. He's been decent. There's been a lot of games where he hasn't had that much to do, but yesterday, especially late in the game when we were put under pressure, he did help, although I don't think he covered himself with much glory for the goal.
Yeah.
But you have to say he made a crucial save from Aurier, and he saved the penalty.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to, the goal, because the corner comes in and Forster comes for it. It goes through everyone and finds Worrell at the back post. And I felt like as well, Ben Davis is just so casual in that moment. I mean, Worrell just sneaks through the back of him and Ben Davis has no idea that he's there. Yeah,
but it's like when the keeper comes, you have to expect he's going to punch it. And then I think there's a flick on from Felipe, and then you can't react. When the flick on happens, it happens so quickly, and bam, bam, it's a goal. So I think the keeper has to take responsibility for that. If you come, you have to get it. If you don't get it, you have to, and it goes in, you have to take responsibility for it. Because if the keeper comes, more often than not, defender's going to leave it for the keeper to punch it. He's not going to intervene. So I think Forster came for it. He didn't get it, and he has to take responsibility for that. But he did. He made some crucial saves at the end. So I don't think he's going to come up with too much criticism. But I do think it's a bit of a theme. As much as he's done well, when we do end up conceding, I don't think he comes himself with much glory as well. Like against Wolves last week, like he had a good game, but the goal was a bit suspect. And I think again yesterday played really well. I think overall great performance because he made some crucial saves, especially the one from Aurier and the penalty. But again, the goal, he didn't cover himself with much glory.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And then obviously in the latter stages of stoppage time, Kulusevski handballs the ball on the edge of the box. His body's outside the box, but his hand's just on the line. The penalty gets given. Andre Ayew steps up, and it's a poor penalty, let's be honest. It really is a poor penalty. Great height for Forster. great, not even in any side of the goal.
Yeah, but he's so big, isn't he? When he goes the right way, you better get it in the corner because it's tough to get it past him.
Exactly. And look, you got to give him credit for saving the penalty, because we haven't seen a keeper save a penalty in a Spurs shirt for a while now, have we?
Well, Lloris used to be quite good at saving penalties.
Yeah, but when's the last one he's actually saved?
I don't know. When is the last one he saved?
Like Aguero in the Champions League run or something like that?
No, he's saved since then. He's saved, hasn't he?
I can't remember one. Maybe jogged my memory, but
I think Gundogan he saved. I remember he saved one at home against Gundogan. I can't remember. I think
did Gundogan just go wide?
No, he saved it. He saved it. Yeah. Fair enough.
He hasn't saved many.
Maybe he hasn't saved many in recent years. Yeah, there was a period where he was looking at
that
unstoppable.
was around that Champions League run.
But yeah, fair play to Forster. Look, I think whenever a penalty is saved, you have to credit the keeper, because you've got to remember whenever a penalty is taken, there's a 70% chance that the player's going to score. Even if a keeper goes the right way, there's a good chance that the penalty is going to be scored. So I think keepers always deserve the credit when a penalty is saved, and fair play to Forster. It was I know. I mean, it was pretty much the last kick of the game, so I don't think it saved us the win, but it definitely saved us a few hairy moments late on. And I think, as well, like, there were 4 minutes added on, and they went to 98 minutes. I don't know how they got those extra 4 minutes from. I thought that was a bit bizarre that he added on an extra 4 minutes from the 4 minutes added on. So if that goes in, there probably was a good another three minutes added on there. And Tottenham, if we're panicking like that, there's always a decent chance that Forest could have fashioned another opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking at the stats actually here for Lloris's penalty saves. The last one he has saved was Gundogan, and that was February the 2nd, 2020.
So 3 years ago.
Yeah. And since then, for Tottenham, he's faced 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 penalties.
10 penalties, saving one. So he hasn't saved any of his last 10.
Yeah.
I never criticised, again, I don't criticise keepers for not saving penalties. I think it's like a harsh criticism to take, because the penalty is exactly what it is. It's a very good chance to score. Mm-hmm. So, I think fair play to Forster, did extremely well.
Yeah. In terms of some notable performances, we spoke about Skip and Højbjerg in the middle. I thought they controlled it massively in the first half. Like I said, pinging it left, right and centre. Like you say, though, Nottingham Forest were willing participants. But let's talk about Harry Kane, because I thought Harry Kane was fantastic yesterday. Obviously, he gets the 2 goals, a penalty and a really nice header. But he was chief orchestrator yesterday, wasn't he? Yeah,
and I thought he was, again, right on it. He also played the through ball for the penalty as well, which Richarlison was able to nip ahead. I thought he was pretty much at the centre of everything that we were doing in the forward line. He was playmaker best, but also found himself in the box for those 2 opportunities to score. Obviously, one for the penalty, and then a brilliant header. You have to say, the way the power he got on that header, because it was a bit of a floated cross by Porro, and it was a bit behind him. He had to kind of go behind him and really flex his neck muscles to bend that header into the corner. And it was an expert header as well. So 20 goals now, I think. Is it 20 goals 20. In the Premier League now for Harry Kane? I think he's on one of 3 players to score 20 plus in 6 seasons in the Premier League. So unbelievable achievement for him. And I thought another brilliant display. And I thought he linked really well Richarlison and Son and Porro as well. I thought Porro was finding him in some really good spaces. And I thought he played really well. I thought he made the most of the time. I didn't think he had that much of the ball. I think 35 touches says it all. He didn't have that much of the ball, only 17 passes. But when he did have it, he made the most of it. And that's exactly what Kane does when he's at his best.
What I was most happy with yesterday were the performances from Richarlison and Pedro Porro, though. All 3 of them, both of them had hands in all 3 of those goals.
Yeah, looking at Porro here.
Porro was brilliant. He really was brilliant. Have you seen the individual highlights on YouTube?
Yeah.
That's so good, man. And I thought, in the early stages of the game, He just got better and better and better as the game wore on. His passing ability was there for everyone to show, kept whipping in crosses.
He's getting more and more confident as well,
yeah.
you can see it.
And he had so much space on that right-hand side. It was just so good to see. And you can see game on, game out, he's getting better and better and better. And we've got some real competition now on that right-hand side.
Definitely, and I'd want us to persist with Porro for the time being, because I do think in terms of what Conte really wants from his wing-back, Porro is more the fit. If you see his... because I really think that this whole Emerson cutting inside thing is a tactical adjustment, because Emerson just isn't very good out wide. And it's keeping his game as simple as possible. But if you when Porro's there, I think it really stretches the pitch. It allows us to look how far wide he is, and he gets really high up as well. And it allows us to have that option of him there getting really dangerous crosses in, and it opens up space for likes of Richarlison, for likes of Kane and Son inside as well when we are stretching the play. And I think that's very much why Porro should be persisted with for the time being. What I would say with Porro, a bit very similar to Davis and Perisic, he's kind of the anti-Emerson. He's like the opposite of Emerson, because what Porro is very good at, as we saw yesterday, taking people on. He was quite adept at. I mean, 2 out of 5 take-ons completed. I mean, it doesn't sound great, but it's like decent, better than probably what Emerson would do. Crossing, it says 1 out of 6, but I definitely remember more than 1, because I think Kane.
Kane
didn't
properly connect to.
Yeah, so he definitely more. So I would say it was at least 2 out of 6 crosses, but at least other crosses as well, which he was putting in, were looking very, very dangerous. 3 key passes as well, very crucial. But what he isn't very good at, is you can see here on the ground duels, 5 out of 16. He had 16 ground duels and he only won 5 of them. So he's losing quite a lot of ground duels. Dribbled past 5 times yesterday, which is not very good as well. Possession lost 22, which is quite a lot for a right wing back. And if you're passing accuracy,
the wing back's
82
always
is
going
right.
to lose the ball more than probably anyone else on
But
the
if what was Emerson's last performance? Probably against Chelsea. I think because he went off early against Milan, didn't he?
Okay.
Against Chelsea, possession lost. Okay, 17. But look at the ground duels. 9 out of 14 won.
Yeah.
That's the difference between Emerson and Porro at the moment. Porro, in the offensive situations, clearly a lot more adept. But Emerson is going to win those tackles a lot more, and he's a lot more aggressive. And Porro needs to learn that side of the game, because against better opposition, he will be punished a bit more.
Also, when Emerson comes inside, he's engaging in a lot of duels in those areas of the pitch where Porro just won't be. So I think
but Porro engaged in more duels, but he lost a lot of them.
No, I get that, but I think that you need to give Porro time to get better in his defensive side of the game. Still a very young player, new to this league. I think he's already showing signs that he could definitely flourish in this league. So I completely agree with you when you say we should persist with Pedro Porro at the moment. But it kind of makes me think about Emerson, because he's playing so well at the moment. Do you think that there's a case maybe that we should be finding a different position for Emerson Royale, maybe at centre back or centre mid or something like that?
Maybe. I don't know. It's a difficult one, because I mean a lot of it goes down to what system he'll be playing next season, all that kind of stuff. But I think he can clearly shows he can play the role. He's very, in a way, he's actually quite similar to how Davis plays the role. Just keeps it simple, quite solid defensively. Although Davis tends to stay out wide a bit more, whereas Emerson's cutting inside a lot and allowing Kulusevski to go out wide. He kind of just simplifies his game, and that's kind of got the most out of him. Do I want him? I kind of do see him being a good right centre back. I don't see why he wouldn't be. But I don't know. That would take a bit of a readjustment, and it takes time on the training pitch. And at the moment, we only have him and Porro, so he has to play that role for the time being.
No.
But maybe in the long term, maybe that is a role I can see him in the future. I don't see a reason why he can't play that role, because I also think defensively, aerially, he'll be really strong. I also think when the right centre back comes forward and has to kind of be another option on the right, he can do that. He can do that role as well pretty well. He can, because he can be kind of comfortable in those areas. So I don't see a reason why he wouldn't work at right centre back.
Yeah, no, I've been calling for it for a few weeks now to see Romero there, but
Emerson.
We have Emerson there. So look, The way it leaves us now, Spurs comfortably in fourth in terms of points, 6 points above Liverpool in the table, 7 points above Newcastle, albeit Liverpool got a game in hand, Newcastle got 3 games in hand on us. Only a point behind Manchester United, and they've got 2 games in hand. But to be a point behind Manchester United,
considering all the praise they've had this season.
Yeah, I know they've got 2 games in hand, which is fair enough. But they've also still in the FA Cup, still in the Europa League. Do you think we can catch Man United this season?
I mean, when you're a point behind, you have to look. When they have games in hand, but they have to win them. I think they're playing Southampton today, so I mean, you probably think they're going to win that game. But Southampton are fine for their lives. You never know, weird things can happen. But I really think they can be dragged into it. They've just lost 7-0 to Liverpool. So clearly, as much as they've been really good this season, they beat the likes of Man City, and they've beat Barcelona in Europa League, and clearly they're on a good path. But I think that defeat from Liverpool was a bit like, okay, they still got a long way to go before they're the finished article. And I think if there were any illusions about them being 100% in the top 4, that defeat to Liverpool should definitely say to me that they're definitely not out of the woods yet. You don't lose to Liverpool if everything's 100, if you're fully functioning like 100%. So you don't lose to Liverpool 7-0.
7-0.
So I think they've still got a long way to go before they can 100% say they're going to be in the top 4. I don't think they've sealed it just yet. And the fact they're only 1 point ahead of us, despite being with 2 games in hand, I think says that. And even if they win, that's still only 4 points. And I don't know who that other game in hand is against, but that's still only 4 points with plenty of games left. We've got 11 games left. So
the other game in hand is against Brentford at home.
No guarantee they win that. No guarantee. Like, Brentford are a very solid team. They could easily draw that game.
So after the return of football after international break, they've got Newcastle away and Brentford at home in the space of a week.
I mean, they could easily drop points in both those. I'm not saying they're going to lose, but they could easily drop points in both those games. So
they still got to come to us.
They still got to come to us. And Newcastle away. So I mean, I think it's very open. With I don't think they've got a deep squad. But with all their depth, they're still heavily reliant for goals on Rashford. When Rashford isn't scoring, who's really going to be getting the goals for them? If he does pick up an injury or loses form, then with all the games they've got coming up, it's going to be very difficult to sustain it.
I guess the same argument could be made for us with Harry Kane.
We have 1 game a week.
Yeah, that's the difference.
So if we need Kane to play 1 game a week, we do. If they need Rashford to keep playing 3 games a week, you know what I mean? It's different.
Well, look, I think that win.
So I think that it does drag them into it a bit. I think
that win yesterday really put us in good stead in the top 4 race. I mean, it kind of makes you kind of think about those missed chances against Wolves and all the other games that Villa at home and all these games that we've dropped this year. But as it stands right now, we are comfortably in the top 4. And what do you think the outlook of this season? I mean, we're still very disappointed about the cup defeats against Sheffield United, against Milan and stuff like that. But we're here in this top 4 race now. It's the only thing that we can go for. And it's looking all right, isn't it?
Yeah, look, the cup defeats sting, definitely. And I don't think even a top 4 finish will ease that pain of just how we threw away the cup competitions. But at least if we can get back in the Champions League, we could, I think you want to be in the biggest European competition. I want to be in the Champions League as much.
Only objective.
Of course not, but it is. That's the reality right now. We have 11 games, and that's the only thing we have to aim for.
Yeah, but right now, I mean, it shouldn't be our only objective when we set out the season.
Of course,
it seems as though that's what it is.
And we know that. We've spoken about that to the nth degree. We know that top 4 shouldn't be the end goal. It should just be something that is a consequence. Yeah, it should be a consequence, but we have no right to be in the top 4. We've seen in the last couple years enough that top 4 is never a guarantee. It's never just you have to fight. When you're in a team like Tottenham, you have to fight for it. When you've got teams like Liverpool up against you, and Man United, and now Newcastle coming up, and even I know Chelsea are 10th at the moment, but they're always going to be in a fight for top 4. So when you've got those teams challenging, you're going to have to fight for it. So as much as we can all say top 4 should be the bare minimum, that's always going to be the case unless we're in a different, unless we start treating things in a different situation. Top 4 is always going to be a battle, and that's the reality right now. So we're in that battle. We're in a good way, and I want to be back in the Champions League next season because I want to have another crack at it. I want to try and do our best, and it is important to be in it, but it's not to say that if we get top four, then we've had a amazingly successful season. But at least if we do get top four, there's a silver lining going into next season that we'll be back in the Champions League, and that will be positive. So I do want to get back in it, and it is very important. And I do think as well, whether Conte leaves or not, and it looks very likely he is going to leave, but I think if he leaves, having got into the top four, I don't think his reputation will have been hit by his time at Tottenham.
It won't be hit in a sense that he didn't go to a club and didn't meet objectives, because he's come here and he's met the objectives. He's got top four 2 years in a row if we get it this year. But for me, it's just going to leave a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth, just because Mourinho's come here, Conte's come here, and we still haven't won a trophy.
Of course. No, from a Spurs fans' point of view, it's going to be absolutely infuriating. I mean, it already is, because it's happened that Conte and Jose will both be in at Tottenham, having won trophies everywhere, and they can't win here. But if you're a prospective owner or a club looking at a top manager, and you're looking at Conte and you're looking at his time at Tottenham, in the overall thing, and has his reputation been hit by the fact that he's gone to Tottenham and got two top four place finishes and then left? Like, is that going to be something that you look at and think, well, maybe he's on the decline? I don't think so. I don't think that hurts his reputation, getting two top four finishes.
I don't buy into this narrative that Conte's in the decline. I think he's doing a really good job in the league anyway, with this club, with this team. And look, he's a world-class manager. There's no two ways about it. The guy is an absolute world-class manager. And I think that when I talk about my feelings about Conte, and when I was saying a couple of days ago that he should just go now, it's not because of the caliber of the manager. It's not because of the football that we're playing. It's not because of the style of play. It's all because of the unknown and him not committing his future, whether that be there's no contract on the table or whatever. It doesn't really make a difference. It's the unknown for me. And if he was to sign on the dotted line, I'll be over the moon. But if he's not going to sign and we can't plan for the future, I think it is better for us to cut our losses and to go our separate ways, so we can start kind of building for the future.
I agree. I don't think while we're in this position, and we're in a decent position for top four, and Conte's going to do all he can, in my belief. I don't think he's checked out anything. I think you can see yesterday the passion he had on the touchline. Like, he wants to do his best for Tottenham, in my opinion. Whether I know he doesn't mean he's committing, but he wants to do his best. So as long as that's the case, I don't see the board sacking him right now. And I think they're going to, because I do believe they believe that he's probably our best bet for top four, and that's what they want. But I do believe it is short-sighted, in my opinion, because I do believe they're probably foregoing short-term gain of probably getting top four with the long-term planning of the whole team, because with this time with a new manager to assess the squad and all that kind of stuff, that definitely could help going into next season. But I just think at the moment the board are probably looking at it and thinking, we'll probably ride out this Conte wave for the time being, try and get top four, and then we'll reassess everything in the summer. I think that's how the thing's going. The uncertainty doesn't help the fan base, doesn't help the team, it doesn't help all that kind of stuff. But I just think that that's how the board are probably looking at it. They're probably thinking Conte is our best bet for top four, so they're going to persist. Yeah,
and he probably is. And when you're talking about the board, kind of like not looking at the long term and only focusing on the short term, I think that's exactly what they've done ever since sacking Maurizio Pochettino, to be honest. And we've gone, how many years ago did we sack Poch?
November 2019.
So since then, we haven't had a long-term vision at this club. And that's not good enough. It's nowhere near good enough. Like, how are you supposed to be successful in the future if you don't have a long-term vision and keep trying to go for these short fixes every time? And just this complete short-termism at this football club is nowhere near good enough. And we need to sort it out one way or another. And whether it be at the end of the season or right now, it needs to be sorted out as soon as possible. But look, that is our match review. We have beaten Nottingham Forest by 3-1. Spurs firmly sit in 4th place, 6 points above 5th, above Liverpool. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts regarding the game yesterday. And thank you everyone for joining us. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always,
come on you Spurs.